welcome back. Our 150th edition has produced yet more interesting calls. We even had a very significant one on a crime that we haven't even covered tonight. Well, officers are already acting on one or two tip-offs, and there's been movement on all our cases tonight. For instance, more than 250 calls on the armed robbery in Aberdeen and 120 or so on the stalker in East London, some providing potential leads to his identity.
We would have been very pleased to get anything at all on the first crime I want to go into tonight, the terrible killing of Michael Menson. In fact, we really have been overwhelmed by the quality of the response. At least 30 calls so far, rather more, I think, and all of them good ones. Michael was found staggering in flames one night 2 years ago on the North Circular in London. John Grieve, why are you so pleased about these calls? The quality is good in all of them.
The quality is good, very interesting in all of them, but two are really quite significant. They're the sort of people we're interested in, prompted by conscience or hearing the boasts. One certainly looks like a nugget of gold.
This was a racist murder.
Yes.
Michael was found staggering on the North Circular, almost 2 years ago exactly. It was a Tuesday, this part of January, two years ago. You think a lot of people not only witnessed something, but a lot of people have been talking about it, have been bragging about it and so forth?
Yes, we're picking up the conversations we always believed were being made. But perhaps more interestingly, we're also picking up on other sorts of race crime, including the use of the spray can that we were talking about. We had 2 calls on that in respect of other racial assaults.
In the main programme, you expressed your confidence that you're going to solve this murder. Are you even more confident now?
I think anybody that meets the Menson family is totally convinced that they will not rest until they've got to the bottom of this, and we'll back them to do it.
Thank you.
Well, we had a very specific appeal on our first reconstruction. We showed the terrifying ordeal of a woman in East London who was abducted by a stalker.
Can you help me? Can you hear me?
Shut up, don't do that!
Call the police!
Stop it,
I need your help! Please, please help me!
Shut up!
Well, Richard Bradshaw, as we said, 120 or so calls. Any particularly interesting ones for you?
Yes, we've had several calls that we're quite encouraged by, and we've got officers from the incident room going around to speak to somebody at this moment.
Well, that sounds very encouraging. Now, you've had a few calls on the car that we mentioned, which may or may not have been a dark blue Mercedes. What have you heard about that from people?
Yes, we've had several calls identifying where the car may have been customised so that we can go and research that.
And that was the dashboard that had a particular sort of individual look to it, wasn't it?
That's right, the walnut look, yes.
Now, we know that the car would have been scorched because there was that flame of torch that went up during the incident. Any calls about that?
None at all. The flame of torch that would have come from the victim must have done some sort of damage, and there must be somebody out there who knows a car that's got that sort of damage on. We haven't heard from anybody at all at the moment.
We haven't heard either from the witness that we appealled for, the woman who was standing near St Andrew's Hospital in Devers Street in Bow. No call from her?
No, nothing at all. We would still like to hear from her.
OK, well, let's hope that those calls have proved significant for you. Thank you.
Well, first on that Belfast forgery and deception, the officers are absolutely convinced they made that right trip coming over here, and they're hopeful that tomorrow morning when they go back they'll have somebody in custody. Then moving on to the King Standing caravan theft. Well, we're still looking for that caravan. That serial number 61518 is etched on the windows, but we're pretty certain we know who the offenders are. We've had 44 calls, 4 of them have given the same name, and officers are confident they've got a result. And then finally on the Ruislip Manor underground attack, again, we've had 3 callers giving the same name for the guy in the yellow shirt, and we've had 3 calls giving the same name for the guy in the mauve shirt. So altogether, good news all round.
250 calls in our next case so far. It's the biggest ever cash robbery in Scotland, and a reward, and here are the checks. £250,000 if you can solve it, and a lot of people watched our reconstruction very carefully indeed.
Open the front door.
Peter Simpson, I don't think we've ever had this number of calls at an armed robbery. And I know you've got a lot of names put in.
Yeah, as you see, an amazing amount of calls really between the studio and our own incident room. A great deal of those calls are giving us suggestions as to the identity of those men in the E-fits.
Now, at a guess, there's just too many for you to be able to say, look, we've worked out our priorities yet.
Yeah, what I would be keen still to hear from is someone with some intimate knowledge of this gang and how they operate and how they work.
OK, you think that there might be an English connection here.
Yeah.
If there is, For English people to get, well, even for Scots people to get rid of that number of notes, we're talking about many hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of Royal Bank of Scotland and other Scottish notes.
Yeah, and obviously we'd be very keen to hear from anyone who has been asked to launder money or dispose of Scottish money in any way.
OK, still a fantastic reward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we've had a good response on our next case, the rather gruesome discovery of a mutilated body on the banks of the River Thames at Deptford. We had hoped that this plaster model would help to identify the victim. Well, Brian Bowden-Brown, has it identified the victim, do you think?
Not at the moment, but I'm very encouraged. We've had several dozen calls suggesting identity for the victim. Obviously, we're going to have to research these, and it may well be that we have the answer already. It's just a matter of time before we get there.
Exactly. Now, you did appeal for drivers and the occupants of 2 vans in the area, bearing in mind this was near the banks of the River Thames at Deptford on the 14th of December.
That's correct.
One of those has come forward, I understand, or one that you think may be the person.
Yes, we've had a person who's phoned in to say that he thinks he may have been the driver of the white van. He was wearing a yellow reflective jacket. So we will talk to him tomorrow, and hopefully that will be helpful.
But a blue van found in the area or seen in the area on the 14th in the morning as well hasn't been identified?
No, we haven't had any calls about that, and obviously I would like to trace the van and its occupants. They are very important people to me.
And reveal the identity of the victim.
Hopefully.
Good luck, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's see how we got on with that number plate deception. A tremendous response, 25 calls, and one name has been suggested 5 times for the guy on the right there. And in fact, 2 callers have suggested the same name for the guy on the left, so that looks good. The injured handbag snatcher, very disappointing. In fact, only 1 or 2 calls on that. So if you know him and where he is, still keep ringing in. And finally, the workshop deception, over 25 calls now, including, again, the same name has been suggested several times. So all in all, very good response.
Finally, a man who for 3 years has been attacking teenagers around Nuneaton and the southern suburbs of Birmingham. Peter Furness, the last time I looked you had 150 calls, but it's gone way over that now.
We've had now nearly 350 calls, an excellent response and some very, very good information. Some people have actually rung us and named some possible suspects.
Now, just go into whatever details you can. I mean, apart from names, what have you got?
Well, we have had 1 or 2 callers who have had relationships with people that have carried out the same type of behaviour and could possibly be involved as the rapist. We've had information on the ISI logo on the jacket.
This one woman actually talked him out of raping her, and he sat with her and she noticed this ISI logo on his jacket.
That's right, but we do need more information on who the man in the pub might be. This was the pub a couple of hours before the attack, and the final attack some 6 months ago, where the EFIT was shown during the programme.
It's opposite Nuneaton Cricket Ground, I think.
That's right.
Yeah,
yes.
He hasn't been identified.
Not yet.
The guy you want at least probably had long sideburns at one stage.
Yes, during the last attack, the victim quite clearly saw the long sideburns. We do want to have more information on anybody who may fit that description.
Somebody I saw rang and suggested, since he was always wearing gloves, did he possibly have tattoos on his arms or hands?
We don't know, but we've had several calls on where those gloves might come from, but we just encourage more people to call.
Peter, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the lines to the studio are closed now, but do try ringing numbers that we'll be putting up in a moment, or you'll find them on CFAX on page 621. Our email address is crimewatchuk@the BBC, and there are 24-hour answer phones at Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111.
See you next month, Tuesday the 23rd of February. Meantime, don't have nightmares. Do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.
When you look out into the night sky, what do you see? It won't always be like this. In billions of years' time, the universe will have expanded so far that if you looked up, this is what you would see. Nothing. A new series of Horizon starts Thursday at 9:30 on BBC Two.
Some radio stations talk too much. Some have nothing much to say. For others, music simply pads out the day. But one radio station has a blend that's just right. BBC Radio Ulster, too good to switch off.
So now on BBC One, when you're a rodeo rider, taking risks is all part of the game. Just ask James Coburn.